Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Friendbuy fireside chat. Now, I know we just had April Fool's Day, but what we're talking about today is no joke. We're going to be talking all about customer retention. I've got a great cast of people joining me today. But before that, I just want to give everyone a couple reminders that at the end, we will be giving away a $250 gift card and also covering our top takeaways for this topic. So make sure you stick around to the very end. Now, like I said, we've got some great people joining today. So the first person I want to welcome to the stage is Friendbuy's very own Director of Customer Success, Matt Bunn.
Thank you, Trevor. Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Bunn. As Trevor said, I'm the Director of Customer Success at Friendbuy. We power loyalty and referral programs for brands that want to grow sustainably and efficiently.
Excellent. And joining us as well, we have Olivia Ferrer, excuse me, from Extensiv. She is their Director of Brand Strategy.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm Extensiv's Director of Brand Strategy. Extensiv connects brands and 3PLs to help them create more flexible and reliable fulfillment networks. I've been in the industry for about 15 years and super excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much for hopping on today. And then last, we have a few more. We have Dylan Kelly from Wavebreak, who is their founder and CEO.
Thanks for having me. Like you said, I'm Dylan. I'm founder and CEO at Wavebreak. We're an email and CRM agency. We work with brands like Nutrafol and Curology to help them maximize revenue from channels like email and SMS and everything CRM related. Really excited to be here, and thanks again for the invite.
Yeah. And last but not least, now for real, we have from Iterable solutions consultant, Abby Haynes. I apologize.
No worries. Thanks, Trevor. Hi, I'm Abby. Like Trevor said, I'm a solutions consultant at Iterable. We're a multi-channel marketing platform designed to help you get the right message to the right people at the right time.
Well, as I said, thank you all for joining today. I know we've got a lot to cover on this topic, so I really want to just dive right in. So let's kick off with our very first question, which is going to be, what is the next or current biggest change in the e-commerce industry that you think brands need to prepare for? Do you want to kick us off here, Matt?
Sure, I'd be glad to. I mean, this one can go so many different directions, I feel, but for me, top of mind really is kind of the current economic volatility and uncertainty that we're all facing. I believe we're all experiencing a little bit of belt tightening, and we're being asked to revisit our budgets and kind of look for savings. And I think, what's really important, especially as I work with our clients, and I've been, director of digital marketing in the past, when you're evaluating your marketing channels and tools, it's really important to assess that ROI and the potential impact on your overall revenue should you choose to pause or sunset something that you're currently working with. Secondarily, I think it's always great to do kind of an audit to make sure you're fully leveraging that tool. Are there things that you haven't unlocked in it that you should be doing, that you're going to get more value from it, and that you can demonstrate that to your team and C-suite? So for example, if a channel is driving new customer acquisition, ask yourself, are you maximizing the integrations or other means to fully engage with and retain those customers to drive that lifetime value and that ROI? Customers acquired through referral can be nurtured, for example, using our email and integration with SMS, with Iterable, to really highly engage those customers. So, just things to think about as you're kind of going through and evaluating. And again, I think that's kind of where my mind went with this question, but I'm curious to hear what the rest of the panel has to say.
Yeah, same. You want to jump on in here, Dylan?
Yeah, I think Matt had a great answer. I mean, look, the future seems to be getting harder and harder to predict every year inside of commerce. Everything is so different and everything seems to be changing even quicker every single week. Like, is AI going to increase competition further? Is the economy going to get worse? Like, we don't necessarily have answers to these questions. But what we do know is similar to what Matt is saying, is if you can double down on your customers, they can really serve as the strong foundation for your brand into the future, no matter what happens. You take care of your customers, and I know that's what this whole panel is all about. everything else is going to fall into place. Profitability, long-term growth, all of those things will check out. It's really hard to say what exactly is going to happen next. But I think, I'm glad we're all meeting today to talk about, what brands can do to really double down and protect themselves as we head into a future where, we're not quite sure what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really fair point.
Yeah, adding to that, I think what's really important is that brands take the time to look at their customer data, making sure that you're reaching your customer where they are, where they want to be, what they demand. Things are changing. The environment is certainly far more demanding from what customers are looking for. So making sure that you are reaching your customers where they want to meet. If that's social commerce, that's where you really need to focus some of your efforts. And also thinking about where you're placing your inventory and what your fulfillment strategy looks like, right? Your customers, especially these days, they want things same day, right? So making sure that you're looking at your data, understanding where you are diversified across your network from an inventory perspective, I think is really a really important exercise to do over the next couple months.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we'll dive into this more a little later, but at the end of the day, like your logistics, your fulfillment, that is a customer retention strategy.
Definitely. My head went similar to you, Olivia, on the data piece. I feel like today we're all really quick to disengage with brands if those messages aren't really tuned to us, really relevant. And then we all know good individualization can't happen without good data. But pair that with the fact, thinking of trends today, we're in the middle of this big transition data privacy wise, where, how data is collected, what we can do with it. You're seeing it with, Apple's newer privacy features, shifting away from cookies being used for tracking. So I think brands need to really prepare for that reality that individualization is more important than ever, but you've really got to shift how you're thinking about data in general, how you collect it, how you use it. So I think that flexibility in pivoting the data and how you think about it, how you collect it to power that individualization will be really, really important.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we're going to talk a lot about the value of customer data. And, there's a lot of things that are going on and changing and a lot of things that are coming. And as even Dylan was saying, you don't even know. So the trends that we're seeing now could be completely different. But the one thing that's kind of going to be current throughout this is the importance of customer retention. So I'd love for us to take a minute and just chat about why should brands care about investing in their retention strategy? Do you want to kick this one off for us, Dylan?
Yeah, I was going to jump in. I wasn't sure if you're going to team me up or what, but
Either way, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I mean, look, retention is really important. It's always been important. It's fallen on the back burner for a lot of brands over the last few years with, everybody aggressively focused on acquiring new customers. A lot of benefits to retention, but ultimately to just simplify why brands should care about investing in it is at this point in this economy where we're at today, it's where the easy money lies. And that's a good thing for brands because there's so much potential, but it's also a bad thing because it's been so neglected by brands. We're often going into companies that are doing a lot of revenue, and then we look at their email and CRM programs and their retention strategy, and it's very heavily underinvested in. A lot of times it's set it and forget it, oftentimes years old. And, it's bad because you're missing out on a lot of, existing revenue and, additional profitability from those customers. But at the same time, they're so untapped because everyone was solely focused on acquisition. And, now that the market has shifted, if you want to build a brand that lasts, getting your retention right is extremely important. And let's say you don't even care about profitability. You still want to drive more revenue. If you want to drive more revenue next quarter, you probably have a few levers that you can pull to double revenue from your existing customer base in that period a lot quicker than trying to spin up another new channel where, as you continue to increase spend, your CAC is only going to increase. You're going to, run out of audiences to continue to target. And it's practically free. So I think it's, been very underinvested in by brands. It's a huge opportunity. And then back to what I was saying on the last question, it'll then also serve as your strong foundation, no matter what ends up happening this next year or two.
Yeah, I mean, if your retention strategy is a few years old, like in this industry, what is a few years old that you want to keep around, you know?
Yeah, I mean, especially with how fast things are changing, and you'd be so surprised to I mean, you buy from some brands and you look at their order confirmation, it doesn't even look like the same company, but they have the cleanest, squeakiest Facebook ads, and the website's gone through 3 new rebrands in the last 3 years, tweaking certain letters on the logo just to make it look slightly different. But yeah, so much opportunity.
Definitely. I think, as consumers, I will say I don't feel like I'm alone when I'm going to say this, but I think we're all inundated with so many different options and messages. And as marketers, we really need to factor in that there's so many of these competing messages or products that are angling for our customers. So what is, really the target? The target is our customers want to feel valued. Not every action should be focused on making a purchase, in my mind. We have to find other opportunities that provide relevant and valuable content or experiences to them. Maybe it's a message about how an alternate use for the product you sell, or how to care for it, or something of that nature. In my old kind of CRM days, I used to refer to it as the debit credit strategy. Not every interaction is asking you for $1. What can I give back to you? And I think we need to reapply that, because people don't want to just be a number. There are so many different options we can go to. And I think referral and loyalty programs, really can help contribute to this balance by giving your customer an opportunity to unlock some sort of benefit or rewards for actions other than purchases. And I really feel like one area, people want to be heard. Your customers want to be heard. And one thing that I feel like is making a resurgence is customer advisory boards. Asking your valued customers for their feedback. It could be product related, maybe it's about your site experience, maybe it's about your order confirmation, maybe it's your shipping, whatever. But having them feel like they have a vested interest in kind of the direction of your business. One of my clients, that's MeUndies, they communicate pretty frequently with their clients on like which collaboration they should do on patterns. And you see the engagement, or at least I hear the engagement from my counterpart or my partner there, that these messages through social and email really drive so much engagement. So I just think it's really about hearing and really observing what our customers are looking for.
Yeah, I love what you said about the advisory boards. That's something that we focus on a lot. Anytime we're working on a new product initiative or a new development initiative, we go to our customers first. Is this something that's going to work for you? Is this going to be helpful in your day-to-day? And I think, one thing that we've all said here is your customers want to be heard. They want to feel valued. And if you're not able to meet that expectation of your customer, the competition out there is fierce. And not to be the Debbie Downer here, but if you're not able to focus on that in your retention strategy, you may drop the ball and another one of your competitors will pick it up and you're going to lose that customer. And so it's really important to think about all of that as you move forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a huge thing with like if you're not handling this, like someone else is, right? So you got to make sure you're at the top of your game. And also, speaking of hearing from customers, we want to hear from our attendees today. So if you do have any questions that you want the panel to answer, throw some up in the chat. We will try to get to a few at the end as well. But as you were just saying too, the expectations of consumers really are changing, right? And that's one of the things we're preparing for. So, but what are these changes? What do consumers expect today that are essential to your retention strategy?
Personalization, I think, is critical. Making sure, you really need to speak to the customer and what is most valuable to them. Things, we talk a lot in our industry about fulfillment strategies and how you get your inventory to that customer as quickly as possible. Fast and free shipping, I know I just spoke about this, but it's always top of mind when you read surveys and what customers are looking for. You also want to think about returns. How quickly can you get that product back from where it came from, right? You want to make it easy. You want to make it very simple. So I think personalizing the experience, certainly by speaking with your customers first, and then simplifying the entire process from shopping cart to checkout and then sending it back is critical when you start thinking about the customer journey.
Trevor, are you going to say something?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think we all need to recognize the customer is really center of everything that we do. And we need to develop programs and experiences that really cater to those particular interests. And I think one way to do that is through, loyalty programs or rewards programs, depending on how you do it. A well-structured program or a tiered program can really drive high engagement. One example I think of that has, incredible adoption and where their members are excited is the Sephora program. Those benefits that they've created, there's, rewards kind of like at every turn. It's easy to attain them, and they're doing the actions that are driving that engagement. And I think it's all about really understanding what does the customer want and how do you cater to that.
I totally agree there. I like kind of even thinking back to your debit and credit strategy that, as part of your retention, you need to be giving them some value, giving them some reason to stay with you and be loyal to your brand. And thinking too, if you're asking data of them, like nowadays people really expect that any data they give you is going to generate value for them, that it's going to make their experience with your brand more seamless, more enjoyable overall. So I think it kind of all ties into your retention strategy and how you go about it.
Yeah, I mean that all makes so much sense, and especially thinking about like the credit debit strategy. Like, just imagine if you had a friend, and every time you saw them, they just wanted your money, right? Like, you're not going to want to hear from that person very often. So I love that. Keeping that in mind is like such a big deal. But that being said, right, like we still as marketers want to be messaging our customers and potential customers. So when it comes to retaining these customers, I'd love to ask, like, so how are the best brands out there right now? How are they using their email, their SMS, and push notification channels to retain customers?
Yeah, I can take this. So I think it kind of ties into what we've all been saying. So thinking about that credit and debit, thinking about the data and using it the right way through your retention strategy across all your channels. So I think the leading brands too are being really intentional about what data they're collecting, how they're collecting it. As we shift to a world where zero-party data that you actually collect directly from your customers is the way to go, it's important to really think about what data you need to market on to make their life better and drive toward that. And then with that too, to really think about being flexible, of doing things differently than you may have done it in the past. So now we have all these different channels, like you were talking about, Trevor, everything from SMS to email, apps, even in the browser. So when we think about those steps in the user journey where we interact, we have to keep in mind that there are a lot more options today. But you need to have a cohesive brand across all those options and channels, and you need to keep those individual user preferences in mind. And that's where I think it ties back to really rethinking our mindset around the data collection and what we do with it. So if you put it into, a realistic example, think about account creation and a classic onboarding, how you'd interact with a brand. Being sure that as a brand, you're asking your users' preferences around things like, hey, what products are you actually interested in hearing about? What channels do you want me to communicate with you on? And then being really attuned to that and actually integrating that into your strategy and how you communicate moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, we want to be, when you talk about like hearing from your customers, like make sure you're you're using what you're hearing. If they tell you, hey, just don't ever text me, and you're like, all right, I got you queued up for the next the next campaign, like it's coming.
Yeah, and just to add to that point too, like brands are sitting on so much data and then still not doing enough with it. A couple more specific areas that we see mistakes that brands are making, specifically on like email, SMS, push, like these core retention channels. We see a lot of lack of segmentation still. Like a lot of people are still talking about segmentation. Everybody knows about it at this point. It's really, really important. But most brands are still emailing like it's 2008 and they're barely segmenting at all. And it doesn't matter if your list is, you're listening to this, your list is 100,000 people or 5 million people. You need to evolve your program beyond batch and blast. To your point, Trevor, too, if you're texting or emailing too much, you're going to lose more subscribers than you gain. And these high ROI channels are going to become a cost center instead of a revenue driver. We also see outdated and disjointed automation, like I was talking about earlier. So email flows or SMS sequences that have been set up over the course of years by different teams and for a different customer journey when maybe you didn't have all of the products that you have today, when you've expanded your product line. And so it's not aligned to your current customer journey. And as a result, that CRM journey is broken, it's disjointed. And your automation is under optimized, off brand, and missing out on revenue. And so typically when we work with brands, we try to run them through a 3-step process to help them maximize revenue. And this is the exact strategy we're using to help companies like Nutrafol increase revenue by over 300% in year over year in as little as 90 days. And the way we break that down is really like step one, looking at your existing automation, just because it's such a huge revenue driver for brands, but often one of the most outdated and what am I trying to say? Like with the most room for optimization. So we start there, rebuild that, build it to your current brand, your current customer journey with all of the learnings that you have based on that data that you've collected over the last, 3, 5, 10 years. Then from there, once you have that built out, look into your segmentation and start scaling that, actually finding the optimal cadence and frequency for each audience. And then beyond that, another thing that a lot of brands talk about, but don't really do, or at least don't do effectively and for the long term, is actually test and optimize. Testing a subject line here or there, or a send time here or there, that's not testing. Or at least not like a great strategy. So really taking the time to plan out a quarter and figure out, what do we want to learn about our customers? What do we want to learn about our program? And then executing that over a quarter and then doing it again next quarter. And what you see is you start to see like trends within that data of like, okay, these are our top performing campaigns. We should take these messages that we're sending to non-customers and incorporate that into our nurture series email sequence that we're sending to people whenever they sign up, but they haven't bought yet. And just continue to optimize. You can find so much revenue within your existing business that way. And look, there's so much that goes into each of those pieces. But in terms of, all this talk of data-driven and personalization, like if you want 2 places to focus in your existing program to find more revenue, look into your automation, refactor it for 2023, and scale segmentation.
Yeah, I mean, you can't emphasize enough that like at the end of the day, the ultimate question we're all asking is like, if customers want more personalized messaging, how do you do that at scale? And the answer is automations. And that also applies to the fulfillment process too. So, we're focusing so much on automation. Like, can we talk about the other side too? I'd love to know like the best ways, or how can you automate your fulfillment process, but while still staying flexible, of course.
Sure, I'll hop in here. So I'm happiest when our customers tell me that they don't even think about their fulfillment processes. They don't want to think, they don't think about channels. They don't want to think how orders are flowing. They don't want to think if their customer got the SMS or something was back ordered. They don't want to hear about it. They want to make sure it's flowing. So for me, leveraging software, if it's an order management system or warehouse management system, something that can allow you to let those flows happen so you can focus on all of these things we're talking about, right? You can focus on creating new products and new marketing campaigns and all the things you want to do as a business owner or somebody who started this company that really has a passion for whatever you're selling the consumer. Using those platforms and those software programs to help you understand where your inventory is. I mean, there's a lot of systems that will say, you need to place your inventory here. That you're selling to most of your product to this side of the US, but in fact, all of your stuff is sitting on the wrong coast. And so using that software and the information that you can gather from there, it should tell you what you need to do. I think is really important. I think, especially when you're a small brand, you don't know what you don't know. And so leveraging these software platforms to give you the information you need to grow and succeed in that fulfillment strategy that you're trying to create is critical. You can have the data, that's great. What you do with the data is really where it matters. And these types of systems really give you that opportunity to say, okay, Olivia, you really need to move your inventory, or you really need to diversify your channel network. And that's where it's really critical to me.
I think dovetailing onto that, like the other side of the fulfillment process, like where your customer is sitting too, keeping them aware, right, of just where that order is in the process. Bearing in mind, I'm with you, Olivia. I want to like not even think about it. Everything's going smooth, but giving them info on the things that matter to them. When has it been shipped? When can they expect delivery? And going back to our different channels, making sure we're keeping in mind that different channels are more appropriate for different things. Like an order delivery, an SMS is a great channel for, high open rates, higher, alert. We know we're all on our phones all the time. So if, my order is delivered, I want to know right then so I can go grab it. So I think that's important too with this.
That's one of my favorite texts to get. Your package was delivered, and if it came within a day of ordering it, that's even best. What a great way to make customers happy.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. And I love getting both sides of this too. That's why this group of people is so amazing, is we get the kind of like a holistic view at like, hey, let's take care of your e-commerce brand. So with that kind of different perspectives, I'd love to jump into our next question. So what we're talking about today is future proofing, right? And we kind of covered at the beginning, like, hey, what is changes are coming, right? But as we said, you don't always know. So as an e-commerce brand operator or marketer, how do I keep my pulse on my customers and the e-commerce industry so that I can prepare and adapt?
Yeah, totally. I mean, look, it's really easy to get sucked into Twitter these days and doom scroll DTC Twitter, and everyone's posting screenshots of their revenue or the percent growth that they drove in Q1. But at the end of the day, theme of this call has been your customers. By doubling down on your customers, I think everyone should kind of block out the noise, really listen to their customers, and stop trying to really even predict the future at this point. We don't really know what's going to happen. We all made our best guess earlier, but we don't really know. And so, just going back to the basics, making products that people want, building your marketing program around that customer journey, not necessarily what a best practice is that you read in an article, but around how people are actually buying, discovering, and then, continuing to buy your product. And I don't think it's really that complicated. Like, talk to your customers, even what they're not saying, like looking at your data and looking for trends in that data. I still see so many brands not fully leveraging their historical data to like inform future decisions, and instead just like operating based on intuition, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but like you have, so much data in e-commerce, and I know everyone's always data driven. But it's like actually using it, you can see some really incredible results. And it's okay if you reuse some of the same ideas and strategies across the other, the other aspects of your business. But other than that, doubling down on your customers, what are people resonating with? What can you do more of is a great place to start.
Yeah, and I think, I'll kind of tag onto that. I think, founders and operators really need to be driven by what their customers love and want more of. Again, they're kind of the center of what we do, and so they should be top of mind. And we should be creating the most meaningful and connected experiences for them. It's kind of like what Abby said a little earlier. It's about flexibility. In my mind, your customer is going to change. Your ideal customer profile is not necessarily going to be static. It may shift and change a little bit, and you have to be able to be ready to evolve with that and understanding that. And, to Dylan's point, data is really where you can get a lot of that. It's utilizing, understanding those data points, those key, KPIs that you're getting, maybe from your loyalty program, or maybe it's from other stats that you're looking at, to identify the actions and behaviors that your customers are taking and what's driving a higher lifetime value. And access that kind of emotional driver too. Sometimes it's not only in the data, but what are the emotional kind of things of it that we think about when you're engaging with a brand. You have to build, there's happiness, you have to build trust. You want someone to have pride in the purchase they've made with you, the anticipation of that delivery, the surprise and delight kind of ability, or, a surprise, I guess. It just got tongue-tied in that. And to get that right balance between transactional and that emotional part. So if you're treating your VIPs well, they'll be your brand evangelists. They're going to drive that ICP. They're going to be able to help you bring in more people to provide that stellar experience to, and really encourage them and others to continue to, go on and popularize your brand.
Definitely. I love what you say about the, your brand evangelists, your VIPs. It makes me think about where we can use some predictive AI to be really powerful here too, kind of taking a different spin on the question. But, you have those VIPs that are the definition of whatever success is to you, whether it's a repeat purchase, signing up for a subscription, whatever that may be. They've converted on your goals. And because you have that data set of those VIPs, artificial intelligence can be used to then look at your entire database, show you what users aren't your VIPs yet, but have really similar profiles to them, but haven't yet converted. And then something we're doing is actually kind of moving the black box AI to glass box to show you, hey, what are those users doing, or what are some things that are true of those users that had the highest impact in converting them, in driving that goal happening? So from there, you're able to really hone in on, hey, now I have not only these people who look very similar to my VIPs but aren't quite there, but I also have what kind of had the biggest impact in moving my VIPs over the line. So then you have everything you need to give them that last little nudge from the marketing team to make that conversion happen now, where you kind of can have a hand in curving the future in your favor.
Yeah. And I love AI is such a hot and interesting topic right now. And I'm going to use this to segue into a fun little recurring segment that we have at the Fireside Chats. And we call this Spooky Story Time. I just love that intro so much. But Matt, I would love to hear this spooky story that you have for us today.
Well, this goes back quite a while when I was managing emails. This goes, and it was beyond kind of like tools that I have, but anyway, I'll kind of get into it. I think we've all talked today about the desire to create and receive personalized, meaningful content, and how we can leverage either first-party data or aggregate additional data from the other sources, or even use AI now. But the story goes, and this is probably 10 years ago, a big box retailer, I won't say the name, used their data to create a personalized customer experience, and it was really with predictive analytics. And the retailer had sent a teenage girl a mailer containing coupons for pregnancy and maternity related products. Her father, was getting the mail, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to fill in some stuff, make it more story worthy. Was kind of outraged that this was delivered to her, went into the local big box store, grabbed a manager, needed to, kind of express his concerns. Why would they send this to a teenager? Are they encouraging young girls to become mothers? Like, what's going on? He was really distraught by it. As the story went, a couple weeks later, the father returned into that same store, talked to that same manager, maybe was slightly apologetic about his behavior. It turned out his daughter had shared with him that she was indeed pregnant. And so I think, the takeaway here is we really have to be kind of aware and cautious about how we use potentially sensitive data to people, and not break other people's stories or news or whatever. And I think, what we're coming into with AI, it's going to be more important for us to really kind of evaluate what kind of messages and stories are we trying to tell or give to a user, and how do we maybe do that in a more cautious way. I think what this big box retailer did following up was they would put in some other non-related categories or products, so the gist was kind of there, but maybe it wasn't like an envelope reveal, like the original mailer had been to someone saying what's going on here. So that's what I remember, is just being, at the time when I was an email marketing person, I thought, well, it'd be great to have the tools to do that, but what power you have and how you really have to be kind of sensitive to what you're revealing.
And I think that comes back to just keeping a pulse on your audience and understanding who they are, right? They say with predictive analytics, companies are going to know that you're going to buy a Volkswagen before you even know you need to buy a car, right? But they might not want to hear that from you, right? So I think it's just being able to connect with them and understand their wants and desires, and personalizing based on that as well. I mean, that's kind of been the theme throughout this entire time, is really just make sure you're listening and make sure you are automating and preparing. And I want to just take a second now to collect all of our thoughts. We've kind of gone all over the place. It's been so amazing and informative, but we really want to keep this as tactical as possible. And I just want to hear from everybody, what is your top takeaway for creating a retention strategy that's flexible so that brands can quickly pivot when something unexpected changes?
I would say here, using your data in the right way, especially given the story, to really individualize intentionally.
I'm going to say being super clear on your ICP. If you don't have a crisp definition on your ICP, you'll think you'll struggle to create impactful strategies.
If you don't already have it, find a way to identify who your best customers are. Maybe it's a referral program, a loyalty program, and provide them a stellar experience that'll drive that LTV, lower the CAC, and just, really instill that relationship.
Yeah. And also, just to summarize everything, like some of the biggest growth opportunities aren't in some new channel, but right before your eyes within your existing operations, your existing customers, marketing. And by looking within and building a strong foundation, whether it's, within operations and making sure you're more efficient there, or by doubling down on your customers through channels like email, SMS, loyalty, referral. When something does happen, there is a shift, whether it's, another iOS update that we don't see coming, or, TikTok getting banned, or like, who knows? There's so many things that could happen. When you have to pivot quick, if you have a strong foundation, across your entire business, whether it's in operations or your marketing or your customer base, you have that foundation that you can rely on.
I mean, it sounds so simple when you put it that way, and hopefully this webinar was really helpful in getting some people some ideas on how they can improve their customer retention, because with customer acquisition costs going up, like, retention's the new acquisition. So you gotta get with the times, as you were saying earlier, like, if you're not, your competitors are. So it's something to take pretty seriously. We do have a question from the community I'm going to toss out to everybody. This one is from Daniel. The question is, what would be the strategy to use during a period of time where we cannot offer incentives, rewards, loyalty programs, or prizes to users, but we need to retain and we need to engage?
I can take a stab at this one. So I think this can still go back to what Matt was saying about, the debits and credits. The credit doesn't have to be, a flat out monetary thing or a loyalty program or something like that. I've seen with our customers a lot of success, even incorporating like more educational content. It makes me think of Ritual as one of our customers. They do, I don't know if you're familiar, but vitamins. And they've seen a lot of success around doing some educational content around, hey, this is how they're made. This is, what's behind the power of this. So I feel like a lot of different brands can take that and run with it in their own way. And then kind of pulling in what Dylan said earlier too, experimenting on that. So if you're doing something a little different, that's not as hard and fast a credit as, hey, here's a coupon, then experiment with it. Try something a little more educational versus maybe telling your brand story, how you got there, and see which one is working better and take that and iterate off of it and run with that in the future.
I really like the educational component that you brought in. I mean, fulfillment strategies is not exactly like the sexy word for e-commerce, right? People don't really love talking about it. But the more we share with our customers how they can create strong fulfillment strategies and the why behind it and educate them, the happier they are. They come back wanting more of that information because we can give them something that they really need to grow their business and be successful. So I absolutely agree with education.
I love that. Well, this has been so much fun, but unfortunately we are coming up on time. So before we do wrap up, I want to announce the winner of our $250 gift card. So drum roll, please. Congratulations, Daniel Osa. Daniel, we will reach out after today's event and we'll get that gift card to you. So congratulations. And I want to say thank you first to everybody for attending. I hope you got a lot of great takeaways. I know I learned a ton. And I also want to say thank you so much to Matt and Olivia and Abby and Dylan for joining today and lending their expertise. This has been a wonderful fireside chat. and I can't wait to see everybody at our next one. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and keep your eye out. We'll be in touch soon.
Thanks for having us, Trevor. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.